This is an urgent video. A 9-year-old girl named Melina Frattolin vanished in New York, and just 1 day later, she was found dead. And the most shocking part? The person who was supposed to protect her is now behind bars, accused of lying, and possibly of ending her life. Today, we're going to uncover everything that's been hidden. We'll expose what the headlines barely scratch, the contradictions, the desperation, and the truth behind that Amber Alert. But first, let's understand who was Melina. Melina Galanis Frattolin, just 9 years old, was a smiling little girl from Canada. She was on a weekend trip to the United States with her father. A typical getaway, father and daughter headed to upstate New York near Lake George, a peaceful, nature-filled place that would soon become the scene of a nightmare. Her father, Luciano Frattolin, co-owner of a luxury Canadian coffee brand called Gambella Coffee, often posted cheerful photos of their travels together. He looked like a loving dad online. But do we ever really know who people are behind their social media smiles? At first, it all looked like a kidnapping, right off the highway. Around 9:40 p.m. on Saturday, July 19th, Luciano Frattolin, Melina's father, called 911 near exit 22 on Interstate 87 between Lake George and Glens Falls, New York. He told dispatchers, "My daughter was grabbed by 2 men and thrown into a white van." Within minutes, the New York State Police and Warren County Sheriff's Office issued an Amber Alert around 1:30 a.m., launching a full-scale search operation. Drones, K-9 units, helicopters, and ground teams. But soon, cracks began to show. Investigators started digging, checking call records, highway surveillance cameras, and eyewitness reports, and found inconsistencies. Luciano claimed Melina was last seen at 9:40 p.m., but phone records showed she was alive and speaking with her mother at 6:30 p.m. in Saratoga Springs via a phone call. So why the time gap? And why did his story about 2 men and a van not match any camera footage or witness account? Authorities quickly shifted their focus. This was no longer just a kidnapping case. It was starting to look like a setup. By the early hours of Sunday morning, the Amber Alert was canceled, and suspicion began to close in on Luciano. The story sounded perfectly crafted to draw attention, but it fell apart under the weight of a few timeline details. And that's not all. What time did the trip really begin, and why did the father change his version so drastically? Within just minutes. In the next part, we'll show how Melina's body was found, and the chilling clues that suggest this was all carefully planned. Sunday morning, July 21st, 2025. At exactly 10:50 a.m., search teams discovered what no parent should ever have to face. But in this case, the father already knew. The body of 9-year-old Melina Frattolin was found in a shallow, remote area of a lake near Ticonderoga in upstate New York. She was partially submerged, hidden beneath branches and debris. A clear attempt to conceal the crime. The spot was so remote, it would take someone with intimate knowledge of the area to reach it. And who knew that place? Luciano Frattolin, the father. Police concluded there was no abduction. It was all a carefully staged act, meant to buy time, generate panic, and throw off investigators. Then the timeline collapses. 6:30 p.m. Melina speaks with her mother on the phone. Everything seems fine. 10 p.m. Luciano calls 911, claiming his daughter vanished without a trace. Less than 24 hours later, her body is found. The investigators now ask, what happened between 6:30 and 10 p.m.? That same day, Luciano is arrested, charged with second-degree murder and concealment of a human corpse. During interrogation, he denies everything. He claims he's innocent. He says he can't afford a lawyer, but on social media, this same man posted photos of luxury trips, selfies with his daughter, and called himself a devoted father. The contrast could not be more disturbing. The mask has fallen, but the question that now screams for an answer is, why? What could drive a father, who appeared so devoted, to plan something like this? The answer might lie in Luciano's contradictions, and in the evidence that's still hidden from the public. We've reached the turning point. Police found far more than just a body. They uncovered evidence directly linking the father to the crime. So what was the motive? Investigators have not confirmed one officially, but there are signs of hidden family tensions and financial pressure that may have pushed things over the edge. Now, let's break down everything we know so far. The police force led by Captain Robert McConnell was crystal clear. He fabricated the abduction story. That public statement, made during a press conference, shifted the entire course of the investigation. Melina's body was found beneath a log in a shallow lake, clearly showing an attempt to hide the crime. There were no prior abuse reports, no criminal history, which makes the case even darker. Luciano, portrayed online and in interviews as a dedicated father, was a traveling coffee entrepreneur. Born in Ethiopia, holding dual Canadian and Italian citizenship, and divorced since 2019. So if he looked like the good dad, why did he do it? Investigators believe something snapped between 6:30 p.m. and 10 o'clock p.m. that Saturday night. Maybe tense relationships, financial strain, or even a psychological break. But none of that explains such a brutal and irreversible act. Luciano is now behind bars, awaiting trial in New York, and we'll be watching closely the autopsy reports, the witness statements, and the false story he built and shattered. We're now in the final minutes of this investigative series, and for now, these are the key conclusions we can share. 1. Judicial process. Luciano Frattolin has been officially charged with second-degree murder and concealment of a human corpse, according to a formal statement from the New York State Police, released at 1 p.m. on July 21, 2025. He pleaded not guilty during his first court appearance, scheduled for July 5th at the Ticonderoga Courthouse, and is currently being held at Essex County Jail. 2. Autopsy and forensic evidence. Melina's official cause of death is still pending the autopsy results, expected by July 21st. This could determine the time of death, the nature of her injuries, and whether or not the act was premeditated. Meanwhile, data from the car's insurance tracking, phone records, traffic cameras, and the vehicle's GPS movements are all being reviewed and may completely dismantle Luciano's final version of events. 3. Media and public pressure. National networks like ABC, CBS, and NBC have expanded their coverage, highlighting Luciano's lack of criminal history and the growing inconsistencies in his abduction claim. Local officials and community groups are closely monitoring the case, with social media movements, candlelight vigils, and public demands for justice growing stronger each day. 4. Unanswered questions. What was the real motive? Emotional conflicts, financial pressure, or a deeper psychological breakdown? If this video resonated with you, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share it with others. We're following this case until the final verdict. Justice for Melina, and for every victim whose voice must be heard.